Abnormal psychology, past and present. Johann cries herself to sleep every night. She is certain that the future holds nothing but misery. Indeed, this is the only thing she does feel certain about. I'm going to suffer and suffer and suffer, and my daughters will suffer as well. We're doomed. The world is ugly. I hate every moment of my life. She has great trouble sleeping. She is afraid to close her eyes. When she does, the hopelessness of her life and the ugly future that awaits her daughters becomes all the clearer to her. When she drifts off to sleep, her dreams are nightmares filled with terrible images: bodies, decay, death, destruction. Some mornings Johann even has trouble getting out of bed. The thought of facing another day overwhelms her. She wishes that she and her daughters were dead. Get it over with. We'd all be better off. She feels paralyzed by her depression and anxiety, overwhelmed by her sense of hopelessness, and filled with fears of becoming ill, too tired to move, too negative to try anymore. On such mornings, she huddles her daughters close to her and sits away the day in the cramped tent she shares with her daughters. She feels she has been deserted by the world and left to rot. She is both furious at life and afraid of it at the same time. During the past year, Alberto has been hearing mysterious voices that tell him to quit his job, leave his family, and prepare for the coming invasion. These voices have brought tremendous confusion and emotional turmoil to Alberto's life. He believes that they come from beings in distant parts of the universe who are somehow wired to him. Although it gives him a sense of purpose and specialness to be the chosen target of their communications, the voices also make him tense and anxious. He does all he can to warn others of the coming apocalypse. In accordance with instructions from the voices, he identifies online articles that seem to be filled with foreboding signs. And he posts comments that plead with other readers to recognize the article's underlying messages. Similarly, he posts long, rambling YouTube videos that describe the invasion to come. The online comments and feedback that he receives typically ridicule and mock him. If he rejects the voice's instructions and stops his online commentary and videos, then the voices insult and threaten him and turn his days into a waking nightmare. Alberto has put himself on a sparse diet as protection against the possibility that his enemies may be contaminating his food. He has found a quiet apartment far from his old haunts, where he is laid in a good stock of arms and ammunition. After witnessing the abrupt and troubling changes in his behavior and watching his ranting and rambling videos, his family and friends have tried to reach out to Alberto to understand his problems and to dissuade him from the disturbing course he is taking. Every day, however, he retreats further into his world of mysterious voices and imagined dangers. Most of us would probably consider Joanne's and Alberto's emotions, thoughts, and behaviors psychologically abnormal. They are the result of a state sometimes called psychopathology, maladjustment, emotional disturbance, or mental illness. These terms have been applied to the many problems that seem closely tied to the human brain or mind. Psychological abnormality affects the famous and the unknown, the rich and the poor. Celebrities, writers, politicians, and other public figures of the present and the past have struggled with it. Psychological problems can bring great suffering, but they can also be the source of inspiration and energy. Because they are so common and so personal, these problems capture the interest of us all. Hundreds of novels, plays, films, and television programs have explored what many people see as the dark side of human nature, and self-help books flood the market. Mental health experts are popular guests on both television and radio, and some even have their own shows, websites, and blogs. The field devoted to the scientific study of the problems we find so fascinating is usually called abnormal psychology. As in any science, workers in this field, called clinical scientists, gather information systematically so that they can describe, predict, and explain the phenomena they study. The knowledge that they acquire is then used by clinical practitioners, whose role is to detect, assess, and treat abnormal patterns of functioning. What is psychological abnormality? Although their general goals are similar to those of other scientific professionals, clinical scientists and practitioners face problems that make their work especially difficult. One of the most troubling is that psychological abnormality is very hard to define. Consider once again Johann and Alberto. Why are we so ready to call their responses abnormal? While many definitions of abnormality have been proposed over the years, none has won total acceptance. Still, most of the definitions have certain features in common, often called the 4Ds: deviance, distress, dysfunction, and danger. That is, patterns of psychological abnormality are typically deviant, different, extreme, unusual, perhaps even bizarre; distressing, unpleasant and upsetting to the person; dysfunctional, interfering with the person's ability to conduct daily activities in a constructive way; and possibly dangerous. This definition offers a useful starting point from which to explore the phenomena of psychological abnormality. As you will see, however, it has key limitations.